Gate 3, 10:26 in the evening. Card ending 0741, exit accepted. That was the automated access control voice at Carson Insulation Works. The card it accepted belonged to 42-year-old electrical technician Jaromir Kovars. 12 minutes earlier, an electrical arc had scorched that card and partly fused it into the lining of Jaromir's trouser pocket. His body was still inside Boiler Hall B.
The badge left, he didn't.
And there was a second problem with the accident story. Beneath the electrical burns and soot, the post-mortem found a blunt force fracture at the back of Jaromir's skull. He had been struck before the arc flash.
So someone hit him, used the cabinet to burn the scene, and then made his card clock out.
That is where this case starts. Not with a body beside live equipment, with a machine recording something physically impossible.
Before we go any further, could the card have survived electrically? Damaged plastic doesn't automatically mean a dead internal chip.
It could have remained readable. That is not the issue. A proximity card has to come within centimeters of the reader. This one was fused to clothing inside a secured boiler hall, and its identifier appeared at a gate several buildings away. The concrete explanation is a duplicate carrying the same identifier.
Human trick. Ordinary hardware.
Exactly. No mystery technology. Portable card duplicators existed in 2012, and Carson's older access system did not distinguish an original credential from a properly encoded copy. The reader would accept both as Jaromir Kovars.
Which means the machine didn't lie.
Somebody gave it the lie.
That's colder.
This is the Cold File. I'm Marcus Reed. I spent 22 years with the Los Angeles Police Department working homicide and cold cases, and access logs are useful right up until somebody with administrative privileges decides to manufacture one.
And I'm Dr. Christy Hart. Call me Christy. You never trusted these systems, did you?
I trusted them as records of what a reader received. I never confused that with proof of who was holding the card.
Important distinction.
It is the distinction that should have kept Jaromir's death from being filed as an industrial accident. Carson Works stood on the eastern edge of Verbeny nad Plošnicí, a shrinking river town in the Ústí industrial region of the Czech Republic. Rail sidings divided the plant from rows of prefabricated apartment blocks. In winter, fog sat low over the Plošnice, and the smell from the works drifted through town.
Insulation manufacturing. What did that plant sound like on a normal shift?
Conveyor motors, extraction fans, burners, warning buzzers, steel carts on concrete. Boiler Hall B fed heat and power into the production side. Line 4 was one of the plant's busiest lines, and every hour it stopped cost Carson money.
There's the pressure point.
Eventually. But on the morning Jaromir was found, that financial pressure had not yet been assembled into a motive. What police saw was an experienced electrician beside an open cabinet.
An experience can hurt a dead worker if management controls the first explanation.
Very quickly. If a company says he was always improvising, investigators start viewing every loose wire as his work. That is confirmation bias with a payroll department behind it.
Who was Jaromir away from the plant?
He was the neighbor people called when a washing machine stopped draining or a kettle tripped the breaker. He usually refused payment. If somebody insisted, he would accept coffee or a jar of preserves and then complain they had overpaid him.
I like him already.
He had worked electrical maintenance long enough to become the man younger technicians sought before they touched a complicated fault. He was separated from his wife, Ivana, and the separation was not peaceful. They argued about money, custody arrangements, and what their daughter would need for technical school.
Was he actually putting tuition money aside?
A little at a time. His bank records showed regular transfers into a savings account labeled for education, not much by corporate standards. A great deal to a maintenance technician watching every bill.
That matters because whistleblowers are often described as fearless after they die. Usually they're frightened people doing the calculation anyway. Job, child, rent, reputation. Then they decide the danger is bigger than the cost.
Jaromir did not begin by trying to bring down Carson. He followed maintenance procedure. He documented a defect and expected the reporting chain to work.
He trusted the paperwork.
Longer than the people above him deserved.
Was his daughter ever willing to speak publicly?
Years later, after the case reopened, she gave one short interview. I want to play the part that explains how the family understood his choices.
My father did not want to be a hero. He wanted the machine shut down until they were safe. He said a signature should mean somebody had checked.
That's devastatingly simple.
And it brings us to the signature that started this. On October 3, 2012, a production line fire-injured furnace operator, Milan Rada, The automatic heat alarm did not activate when the temperature first crossed the emergency threshold. By the time workers understood what was happening, smoke had reached the upper ducting.
How badly was Milan hurt?
Burns to his forearm and shoulder, plus smoke inhalation. He survived, but he spent weeks away from the plant. Carson called it a sensor delay and kept Line 4 operating after temporary repairs.
Temporary repairs meaning what?
That depended on which document you read. The shift note said the sensor circuit had been inspected. The safety sheet said the alarm was functional. The electrical history showed repeated resets during heat spikes.
3 records, 3 realities.
And no shutdown. 5 nights later, on October 8th, Jaromir opened the relevant control cabinet during his shift. Behind the normal wiring, he found a short copper bridge concealed across the thermal cutoff terminals. That bridge bypassed the automatic interruption circuit. When the line overheated, the alarm system could be reset without forcing the production equipment to remain off.
So this wasn't a failed sensor.
No, it was a deliberate bypass.
Why hide the bridge inside the cabinet instead of changing the software?
Because a physical bridge was cheap, fast, and less likely to appear in routine system reports. Management wanted Line 4 to keep moving through temperature faults. The motive at that stage was production. Avoid downtime, avoid missed orders, avoid questions about the fire.
And anyone opening the cabinet could still see it.
A qualified electrician could. Most supervisors could not. Jaromir photographed the bridge with his work phone before touching anything.
Did those photographs survive?
Partial copies did. The phone recovered beside his body had been damaged by heat, but its memory card retained thumbnail images. Investigators could see the copper bridge, the cabinet number, and a strip of green writing on the door.
Green writing?
Grease pencil. Jaromir's electrical team used thick maintenance crayons because ink did not hold well on dusty or oily steel. Across the cabinet door, somebody had written, "Do not reset Line 4."
Was the handwriting his?
No useful handwriting comparison could be made from block capitals, but chemical testing later matched the green wax to crayons issued to Jaromir's maintenance team. His photograph showed the warning was already there on October 8th.
So the message predates his death by 10 days.
Correct. It also destroys the idea that he opened an unfamiliar cabinet and made an impulsive, unauthorized repair. He had already identified that cabinet as dangerous. On October 15th, Jaromir spoke with Union Representative Marek Dvorak, a longtime friend. Jaromir said he would send his photographs and copied maintenance records to the Regional Labor Inspectorate if plant management refused to shut down Line 4.
And Marek wanted him to wait.
According to Marek, yes. He argued that one private complaint could be buried, while a broader labor action would force Carson to negotiate. Jaromir believed delay meant another worker could get burned.
That sounds principled on both sides until we ask what Marek wasn't saying.
Marek had received a private payment tied to strike negotiations.
There it is.
The payment was not known when Jaromir died. It surfaced later in bank records. Marek had taken money from an intermediary connected to management, supposedly for consulting on staffing disputes.
That is a soft phrase for being bought.
It looked bad because it was bad, but corrupt negotiation does not automatically become murder.
No, but now Jaromir is threatening a report that could expose the safety bypass, and his friend has money coming from the people harmed by that report. That's personal betrayal with a financial fuse.
Or is excellent camouflage for somebody inside Carson's security who understands how to stage the scene.
You're already inside the security office.
The duplicate credential puts me there.
I'm not there yet. The card trick may have cleaned up a killing committed for personal reasons. The person who struck Jaromir and the person who edited the timeline do not have to be the same person.
Fair. But every additional participant increases exposure. I start with the smallest conspiracy that explains the evidence. On October 18th, Jaromir reported for the night shift. His access card recorded a normal entry. Coworkers saw him carrying a work phone, a voltage tester, and a thin folder containing copied maintenance logs.
Who knew about the folder?
Marek knew Jaromir had copied records. Ivana knew he was worried about trouble at work, though she said he had not shown her the documents. At least 2 maintenance employees knew he was collecting Line 4 information. Management knew he had challenged the official repair account.
That's not a private secret anymore.
No. At approximately 10 that night, Jaromir received an internal maintenance request directing him to Boiler Hall B. The original request later disappeared from Carson's live server.
Wait, was it a phone call, paper ticket, computer request?
The surviving event index described it as an electronic work order. The content was missing. Police initially accepted Carson's explanation that short-term maintenance tickets were routinely overwritten.
Convenient routine.
Too convenient. Jaromir entered Boiler Hall B shortly after 10. The cabinet's protective relay recorded a major electrical event at 10:14.
Do we know whether anyone followed him?
The plant's camera export showed no one. But that export had been prepared by Carson's security chief rather than seized directly from the server.
Marcus.
I know.
That isn't evidence custody. That's asking a possible witness to edit your answer.
Exactly. In a proper seizure, investigators secure the original recorder, document the system clock, calculate verification values for the copied files, and preserve an untouched image. They do not send a request saying, "Please give us the relevant video."
Because relevant is where the knife goes in.
Security supplied selected clips. Those clips showed Jaromir walking toward Boiler Hall B, then apparently showed the corridor empty during the critical window.
Apparently.
There was no visible jump, but the file had been exported and re-encoded. That meant investigators could not establish whether segments had been omitted before export.
So the absence of a person was never proof that no person entered.
Correct. It was proof only that the security chief had delivered a video without one. Jaromir was not found until 6:14 the next morning. A cleaner entered Boiler Hall B, saw him on the floor beside the open cabinet, and called emergency services. Here's the surviving portion of her call.
There is a man beside the electrical box. He isn't moving, and the cabinet is still sparking. The evacuation siren is running, but nobody has come in here.
She's alone with live current.
And the dispatcher told her to back out immediately. Under her voice, the recording captured Carson's low evacuation siren cycling unevenly through the hall. Plant electricians isolated power before paramedics approached Jaromir.
Could they tell right away that he had been dead for hours?
They suspected it. The body temperature and fixed lividity were inconsistent with a recent event, and the protective relay gave them the 10:14 electrical timestamp. But the scene was still approached first, as a workplace electrocution. The first report described an open cabinet, electrical burns to Jaromir's upper body, a damaged voltage tester, and no folder. That missing folder should have changed the posture of the investigation immediately.
Because paper doesn't evaporate in an arc flash across the room.
Right. Loose pages might scorch. A folder might burn if it were close enough. But investigators documented no paper fragments, no melted binder material, and no ash pattern consistent with it being consumed there.
Somebody removed it.
That is the reasonable inference. Yet Carson's supervisors told police Jaromir had a habit of carrying old paperwork from job to job. The folder was treated as something he might have left elsewhere.
They keep converting evidence into personality.
That is how the red herring worked. Jaromir was described as an improviser, a man who repaired household appliances, reused parts, and preferred practical fixes. Management took qualities that made him useful and reframed them as recklessness.
But an improvised repair still doesn't explain a blow to the back of his head.
The initial post-mortem recorded the fracture but left room for it to have happened during collapse. The theory was that the arc threw Jaromir backward into a pipe bracket or the concrete floor.
Did the geometry support that?
Not well. The fracture was a concentrated impact at the rear right side of the skull. The floor would normally produce a broader injury. The nearest pipe bracket did not carry blood, tissue, or hair, and its height did not match the body position.
That sounds like a tool strike.
That is what the later forensic review concluded. The skull injury occurred before the electrical burns. Jaromir had been incapacitated, then placed or held near the cabinet when the circuit was energized.
Close range, controlled violence. No frenzy. Whoever did it needed him quiet and needed the body to read as part of the equipment failure.
Which supports an instrumental offender.
It also supports someone he trusted enough to meet in that hall. He goes there after 10 at night, carrying the records that could destroy somebody. He gets hit from behind before he can react. I'm looking at Merak or at someone connected to the family conflict before I jump to a director ordering murder.
Here's where I disagree. Personal anger usually does not arrive with control over work orders, cameras, access cards, and fire reporting. The violence was physical, but the scene construction was administrative.
Unless Carson discovered the body and covered for the killer because Jaromir's documents threatened the company.
Possible. But then Carson is accepting murder liability for a crime it did not commission. That is a much larger risk than reporting an employee dead beside a sabotaged alarm.
Corporations make ugly panic decisions.
They do. The timing still bothers me. The false exit was created 12 minutes after the arc event, not hours later after somebody stumbled onto the body. That is immediate scene management. Whoever made the exit record was operating as part of the killing plan.
Unless the killer called an inside ally.
Then we are still inside security.
Fine, you can have one foot in the security office. I'm keeping mine with the people Jaromir argued with.
The cabinet warning added another complication. Do not reset line 4. The final word was partly smeared, apparently by a gloved hand. Yaromir's work phone showed the message clean 10 days earlier.
Meaning the smear happened after his photograph.
Sometime after, yes. Investigators compared the mark with maintenance gloves, cleaning cloths, and emergency equipment. They could not identify the exact glove from the smear alone.
But someone put a hand across the warning.
And the cabinet had been reset despite it. That mattered, because Jaromir was not attempting an unauthorized repair. His own documentation showed he wanted the compromised system left untouched for inspection.
So if management says he bypassed safety protocol, the green grease pencil says the opposite.
It says he had marked the danger and tried to preserve it.
Which makes the smear feel intentional. Not evidence by itself, but behaviorally it's erasure. Someone sees his warning and literally rubs a hand through it.
3 days after the death, police obtained the full gate record. Jaromir entered normally at the beginning of his shift. There was no record of him leaving through the staff turnstile. Instead, card 0741 registered an exit at gate 3 at 10:26.
12 minutes after the relay event.
Yes. Gate 3 was a vehicle and delivery gate on the plant's southern perimeter. The reader there accepted staff credentials, but it was not the route Jaromir normally used.
Could the timestamp have drifted?
Investigators checked. The gate controller and boiler relay differed by less than 20 seconds when compared against the plant's central clock. Clock drift could not create a 12-minute contradiction.
Could someone have removed the card, used it, and put it back?
The heat had softened the plastic and bonded one edge to the synthetic pocket lining. Removing it would have torn the fabric or snapped the card. Neither happened. The body also had to remain beside the cabinet for the staged scene.
Then duplicate identifier.
That is the only explanation consistent with the physical evidence. Someone had copied the card's data onto another credential and used that copy at gate 3.
Why clock him out at all? If the body is still inside, the exit creates a contradiction.
Because the killer expected the card to be read as heat destroyed and the detailed access record never to be compared with the evidence photograph. The intended story may have been that Jaromir entered the hall, caused an electrical fault, then somehow left before dying elsewhere, or that the access system merely showed a routine departure and shifted attention away from who remained inside.
That feels overbuilt.
It was. Staging often is. People add details because they think detail equals credibility. The false exit gave the timeline a clean endpoint, but it also left a machine-generated signature.
Who at Carson could create that duplicate?
In theory, several administrators could enroll or replace cards. In practice, blank credentials and the encoding device were kept in the security office. Replacement cards were issued by the security chief staff.
There's your room.
There's my room, but not yet, my killer. Police had to establish whether a duplicate existed, who created it, and whether the access database had been edited after the fact.
Was it edited?
The visible event had not been typed into the log manually. Gate 3 genuinely received a credential broadcasting Yaromir's identifier. That makes the staging more physical. Somebody stood at that reader with a cloned card.
In the fog, 12 minutes after Jaromir was burned.
And the person responsible for preserving the gate cameras was Pavel Sima, Carson's security chief.
What did Shima say he was doing at 10:26?
Monitoring an overnight delivery from the security office. His supporting evidence was a camera segment he selected and exported himself.
That alibi arrives pre-edited.
Before police focused on Shima, they looked at Ivana Kovačeva. She and Jaromir had argued on the afternoon before his death. She was the beneficiary of a recently increased life insurance policy, and investigators heard about debt and a bitter custody dispute.
That is the personal pressure point I meant. How serious was the argument?
Serious enough that Jaromir mentioned it to a coworker. Ivana wanted a more predictable tuition contribution and accused him of risking his job over the Line 4 dispute. He accused her of caring more about money than whether workers were safe.
Painful, but not unusual for separated parents under financial stress.
Exactly. Police still had to test it. Ivana worked an overnight nursing shift in Duchin. A coworker documented the handover. Her phone connected along the expected route home, a motorway toll camera photographed her car, and she bought fuel at a station during the critical period.
Could she have hired someone?
Investigators checked her accounts and communications. No unexplained payments, no contact with Carson security, no evidence she knew Jaromir would be in Boiler Hall B. The insurance increase had been agreed by both of them as protection for their daughter.
So the ugliest conversation in the family became motive theater.
Ivana was cleared of a direct role. Her argument was real, her financial anxiety was real. Neither made her a murderer.
I'll take her off my board, not the personal orbit theory.
That leaves Marek Dvorak, whose alibi had a gap. He told police he spent the night drinking at the Three Rails pub. 2 friends confirmed he arrived, but neither could account for almost an hour before midnight.
After the 10:14 event.
Yes. The timing did not neatly place him at the murder, but it gave investigators room to suspect he had left the pub, hidden evidence, or met somebody afterward.
And he had taken management money.
A payment he concealed during his first interview.
That's the behavior I can't brush aside. Jaromir tells his friend he is going outside the company. 3 days later he dies, the folder vanishes, and the friend lies about being paid by management.
Marek said he concealed the payment because it would destroy his standing in the union. Shame and self-preservation are common reasons witnesses lie about collateral misconduct.
They're also common reasons accomplices underestimate what investigators will find.
True. So detectives checked his boots, vehicle, clothing, and home. None matched the trace material from Boiler Hall B. No soot from the cabinet, no insulation fibers, no blood, no electrical residue.
He could have changed.
He could have. But then he also needed access to the work order system, a clone badge, the camera exports, and enough knowledge to stage an arc flash without killing himself.
Or he needed Pavel Shima.
Now you're putting a foot in my security office.
Only because your room has too many keys. I still want to know who supplied the emotional reason to use them.
Then police asked Carson for the card issuance audit, the record showing every credential created, replaced, or cloned by authorized staff.
Let me guess. Missing.
Not missing. Worse. The audit showed a test credential encoded with Jaromir's identifier 2 days before his death, then marked as deleted by an administrator account.
Whose administrator account?
Pavel Shima's.
And now the question isn't whether a duplicate existed. It's why Carson's security chief created one before Jaromir ever entered Boiler Hall B.
Shima's explanation was that Jaromir's credential had been copied for a bench test. He claimed employees had complained about delayed gate reads, so he duplicated several cards, checked them against a spare reader, and deleted the temporary entries afterward.
Did Jaromir complain?
No written complaint from him. No help desk ticket, no entry in the security shift book. Shima produced a handwritten list of other employees who supposedly had similar problems, but police never interviewed half of them.
That's not a test record, that's a story with names attached.
And even if the test had been legitimate, deletion made no sense. You disable a temporary credential and preserve the audit trail. You do not erase the evidence that you created it.
Unless the audit trail is the dangerous part.
Precisely. Shima also said the test card had been cut in half and discarded 2 days before Jaromir died.
Was it recovered?
Never.
Marcus, that moves him past. Interesting.
It does. But in 2012, the district investigators treated his access to the system as a reason to trust his explanation, rather than a reason to scrutinize it.
The expert halo.
Yes. The person who understands the system becomes the person explaining why the system cannot implicate him. Shima was interviewed for less than 40 minutes. He described Jaromir as technically gifted but stubborn, said the electricians sometimes bypassed formal work orders, and suggested the badge event might have been a delayed synchronization between Gate 3 and the central server.
Could it have been?
No. Gate 3 stored events locally and transmitted them in sequence. A network delay could postpone when an event appeared on the central screen. It could not manufacture a physical card read at 10:26.
So he offered a technical phrase that sounded plausible to anyone who didn't know the architecture.
That is a common interview tactic from knowledgeable suspects. Not a direct lie you can disprove in the room. A dense explanation that makes the detective feel underqualified to challenge it.
How do you handle that?
You slow him down, ask him to draw the system, ask where the event originates, which device timestamps it, and what would have to occur physically. Then you bring in an independent technician, not one employed by the same company.
They didn't.
They let Carson's contracted technology vendor answer through management. The response said synchronization delays were not uncommon. That answer addressed transmission time, not credential use, and the distinction disappeared into the file.
That's infuriating.
Bad technical language can bury good physical evidence. The card had to be presented to the reader. Somebody had to stand at Gate 3.
Let me keep pressure on the two-person possibility. Shima creates the credential and cleans the video. Marek gets Jaromir into the hall or tells Sima where the folder will be. That explains the friendship access and the security access.
It explains them by combining every suspicious person, but we still need evidence of contact between Marek and Shima.
Was there any?
3 calls from the union office to the plant security desk during the month before the killing. Marek said they concerned workers entering during a shift protest. The calls were real, but no surviving recording established who spoke.
That's enough to keep the door open.
Open, yes, not wide. More important, Marek's pub gap began after the electrical event. Telephone records placed his handset near the Three Rails pub at 10:14 and again at 10:26.
Handset, not man.
Correct. One of his friends also remembered borrowing the phone to call his wife, so the device alone could not fix Marek to the table. But a city bus camera recorded Marek walking toward the pub at 10:38. He was wearing the same coat and carrying no folder.
He still lied about the payment.
He did, and investigators were right to press him on it. They were wrong to let that lie substitute for evidence of murder.
Behaviorally, he fits shame better than control. He hides the payment, minimizes the argument, protects his union position. What he doesn't do is build a clean alternative timeline.
That distinction matters.
I'm not clearing him yet.
Neither were they. The next suspect was Lenka Horova, Carson's safety compliance officer. Her signature appeared on inspection sheets certifying that Line 4's heat alarm was operational after the October 3rd fire.
When it had a concealed copper bridge across the cutoff.
Yes. If Jaromir reached the Regional Labor Inspectorate, Lenka could lose her certification, her job, and potentially face criminal exposure for false safety records.
Strong motive to stop the report.
Her first alibi was weak. She said she had been home almost all evening. Her phone was switched off, and investigators found no activity from her home internet router during the critical period.
No witnesses?
None inside the apartment. A neighbor thought she heard Lenka's television but could not give a reliable time.
That would keep her high on my list. She has direct professional jeopardy, knows the alarm history, and could plausibly summon Jaromir with a safety question.
It kept her high on theirs too. Then a warehouse camera outside Most captured her car shortly before 10, and a pharmacy transaction placed her there at 10:22.
How far from Carson?
Too far to reach Boiler Hall B by 10:14, and still too far to use Gate 3 at 10:26. Investigators verified the card purchase, the cashier, and the vehicle registration.
Why lie about being home?
She was buying prescription medication for anxiety under circumstances she did not want discussed at work. The privacy lie made her look mobile on a murder night.
Another collateral secret.
Exactly. People rarely arrive in homicide interviews with clean lives. A detective has to separate what a witness is ashamed of from what the killer needed to do.
But she did falsify the inspections.
She eventually admitted backdating them. Lenka said plant director Radek Hanzal told her Line 4 had passed an electrical review and ordered her to complete the missing signatures before an insurance visit.
Did she know the cutoff was bypassed?
She denied seeing the copper bridge. She knew the alarm had produced faults, and she knew the line had not undergone the full shutdown test required after Milan Rada was injured. That was enough to make her certification false.
What was Hanzal's leverage over her?
Employment, professional sponsorship, and fear. Lenka had been hired during a period when safety positions were being cut across the region. Hanzal repeatedly told her that shutting Line 4 would cost dozens of workers their jobs and that she would be blamed for overreacting.
That's coercive reframing. He turns compliance into loyalty to the workforce, then turns actual safety into betrayal.
And it worked until somebody got badly hurt.
Did Lenka warn Jaromir?
She made 2 short calls to his work phone after the fire. She said she asked about the sensor circuit. He told a colleague Lenka sounded frightened and kept asking whether he had copied the logs.
That could sound like information gathering.
Or fear that her false signatures were about to surface. Her location cleared her from the physical killing. It did not clear her from falsifying safety documentation, and she was later charged separately for that.
So Lenka's conduct helped create the danger, but the evidence says she wasn't in the hall.
Correct.
And her confession points upward.
Upward meant Radek Hanzal, the plant director. Hanzal said he spent October 18th at a supplier dinner in Teplis. He produced a restaurant bill, and 2 executives remembered him speaking about delivery contracts.
For the whole night?
No. The dinner began early. One executive left before 9. The other remembered Hanzal taking a call and stepping away, then assumed he returned to his hotel.
Assumed.
The restaurant bill was closed using a company account at 9:17. Hanzal's hotel key was first used after midnight.
That leaves almost 3 hours.
Teplis was within driving distance of Carson. He could have returned to Verbany during the critical window.
Did his car appear anywhere?
No useful road camera captured the registration. His company sedan had no retained location history. Hanzal said he stayed at the restaurant bar, but no employee could place him there continuously.
Now I'm listening.
His motive was larger than a falsified inspection. Carson was negotiating a sale to a regional construction materials group. The deal depended on production targets, environmental disclosures, and the absence of unresolved worker safety liability.
A shutdown would expose all three.
A serious investigation into the Third fire could produce injured worker claims, regulatory penalties, and evidence that management deliberately disabled a safety cutoff. The buyer could withdraw or reduce the price.
How much did Hansel personally stand to gain?
A sale bonus large enough to clear his home mortgage several times over, plus a promised executive position with the buyer.
There's the boardroom motive you've been arguing for.
Motive, not yet murder.
Still, it's clean. Keep the line running, keep the injury framed as a sensor fault, keep Yaromir's folder away from inspectors. Here's where my personal theory shifts a little. I don't think Hansel needs to hate Jaromir. He only needs to experience him as the final obstacle between himself and the sale.
That is usually how corporate violence becomes possible. The victim is converted into a problem on a schedule.
But would a plant director really order a killing over an inspection complaint? That's an enormous escalation.
It is, which is why you look for prior steps. Pressure, record alteration, threats, attempts to buy silence. The killing should not be the first management response.
Was it?
Jaromir had been offered a transfer to a maintenance position at a smaller Carson site. Same base salary, fewer night shifts, but a commute that would have made his custody schedule difficult. He refused.
A soft removal.
Then a supervisor warned him that unauthorized photographs could violate company confidentiality. Jaromir asked for that warning in writing. It never came.
He forced them back into the paperwork every time.
That was his protection strategy. If management wanted him silent, he wanted the request documented.
Which makes him very hard to intimidate quietly.
And potentially very expensive to fire. Terminating the technician who documented a safety bypass days after a worker was burned would attract exactly the scrutiny Hansel wanted to avoid.
So first they try to move him, then scare him, then the work order sends him alone into Boiler Hall B.
That sequence made Hansel a serious suspect, but the original investigation did not reconstruct it. Each event was filed under a different department: human resources, safety, maintenance, security. Nobody built the full chronology. Years later, a backup recovered from an outside payroll contractor changed that chronology. Carson's maintenance server shared scheduling data with the contractor because overnight security staffing affected payroll premiums.
That is wonderfully mundane.
The best surviving evidence often is Carson could destroy or lose its own server, but it could not reach every system that had received a copy of its schedule.
What did the backup preserve?
A security system maintenance window beginning shortly before Jaromir entered Boiler Hall B. During that window, live camera review was disabled on selected channels. Local footage could still exist temporarily, but supervisors at the central console could not watch those areas in real time.
Who approved it?
Radek Hansel's account.
There it is.
The approval was recorded just after Hansel stepped away from the supplier dinner.
And who performed the maintenance?
Pavel Sima's security account opened the window.
That puts Hansel and Shima on the same digital action.
Yes, but their lawyers later argued that director approval was routine and that the timing was coincidence. In 2012, investigators never saw this record because they asked Carson only for its internal maintenance log.
Which Carson controlled.
Completely.
I'll give you ground here. Merrick's corruption explains why he lied. This maintenance window explains how the killing scene was protected.
Not fully protected, curated.
Better word.
The same review clarified the alarm layout. Line 4's automatic heat alarm, the general evacuation siren, and the boiler hall electrical alarm were separate circuits. A failure in one did not prevent an authorized user from activating another at the panel.
So management's reports blurred 3 different systems.
Constantly. The October 3rd fire report discussed the automatic heat alarm. The report after Jaromir's death said the evacuation siren was not activated during the electrical event, despite the cleaner's call recording it hours later.
And the green grease pencil warning?
Specifically told workers not to reset the disabled Line 4 alarm before it could be inspected. That was why Jaromir wrote the line number on the cabinet rather than a general electrical warning.
Right, keep going.
Carson's report treated the grease pencil message as an informal maintenance note. It did not address why the cabinet had been reset or who held the alarm panel key during the night shift.
Who did?
The shift engineer had one, security held a second for emergencies. The security copy was signed out under Pavel Shima's authority that evening and returned before the morning shift.
Signed out to whom?
The handwritten name was illegible. Shima said a guard must have taken it during a routine alarm check.
Of course he did.
None of the guards remembered taking it. Police did not submit the entry for handwriting comparison, and the key itself was never examined for trace material.
Another lost chance.
This is where the red herring hardened into the official case theory. Carson told police Jaromir had a reputation for improvising repairs. Investigators decided he had ignored the grease pencil warning, opened the cabinet without authorization, and accidentally caused the arc flash.
Even though he wrote or preserved the warning, photographed the bypass, and planned to report it.
They treated each of those facts as evidence of obsession rather than caution. In their version, Jaromir was so determined to prove the alarm fault that he took an unsafe risk.
That's vicious. His effort to document danger becomes the reason they blame him for dying in it?
The red herring worked because it had fragments of truth. Jaromir did improvise household repairs. He did challenge supervisors. He did enter the hall alone. The false conclusion was that those habits caused his death.
And the cost?
The cabinet was released back to Carson, tools were returned, potential witnesses rehearsed the accident story for years. The missing folder was never found. Most important, investigators failed to seize the original camera server while it still existed.
13 years bought by a character attack.
On November 6, 2012, the district prosecutor accepted the industrial accident account. The skull fracture was attributed to collapse, the gate event to a technical anomaly, and the missing documents to Jaromir's supposedly disorganized work habits.
Every contradiction gets assigned to the dead man.
That is what bad closure looks like. Not one giant fabrication, a series of convenient explanations, each small enough to pass alone. The local press repeated the finding. Listen to this television report aired after the prosecutor's decision.
Carson Works says senior technician Jaromir Kovars entered restricted electrical equipment without a required shutdown permit. Prosecutors currently see no evidence of third-party involvement, and the company says Line 4 remains safe to operate.
They gave Carson the final word.
They gave Carson almost every word. The report did not mention the cloned identifier, the missing folder, or the concentrated skull fracture.
What did Milan Rada think, the furnace operator who had already been burned?
He rejected the company's account. Years later, he said workers knew Jaromir was trying to protect them.
Jaromir told me not to trust the green light on line 4. After he died, the supervisors said he caused the fault himself. I knew that was not the man who checked my station twice before every restart.
That should have mattered.
It should have been taken as a lead, then tested. Instead, Carson characterized Milan as a disgruntled, injured employee pursuing compensation.
Same tactic. Convert a witness into a grievance.
In May of 2018, the case was administratively closed. When the Cold Case Project requested Carson's original camera system, the company said the older server had been destroyed after a roof leak.
Was there a leak?
There had been water damage in an administration annex. Insurance photographs showed stained ceiling tiles and 2 ruined office computers. They did not show the camera server.
So a real leak became cover for an unverified disposal claim.
That is the most defensible reading. Carson produced no destruction certificate, no equipment serial number, and no technology contractor invoice showing the recorder was discarded.
Could data have survived on the drives even after water exposure?
Often, yes. Water does not automatically erase magnetic storage. The proper move was to seize the hardware and let a forensic laboratory assess it. But by the time anyone pressed, Carson said the drives had gone to industrial recycling.
Which left only Shima's selected exports.
Exactly. His corridor segment, his gate segment, his version of an empty plant.
That looks deliberate.
It does. Still, prosecutors needed independent evidence showing what he removed, not merely suspicion that the video was incomplete. That independent evidence came from an unlikely source. In 2012, a local rail enthusiast regularly filmed freight movements outside Carson. He set up on a public embankment overlooking the southern sidings and Gate 3.
Why was he filming at night?
Carson received a particular series of covered freight wagons on overnight schedules. Rail enthusiasts tracked locomotive assignments and unusual consists. He was interested in the train, not the gate.
Which means no one inside Carson knew to collect his recording.
Correct. He uploaded edited rail clips to a small video channel. Most viewers watched for the locomotive. Gate 3 sat in the far background for less than a minute.
Did the original uploader ever recognize what he had?
Apparently not. The channel went inactive, and the compressed online clip was eventually removed during a music rights dispute. For years, investigators did not know it had existed.
Then how does it come back?
A former local video editor named Tomasz Baran had helped prepare several of the rail uploads. In 2025, he was clearing old project drives and found an archived copy of the original factory perimeter footage.
Original quality.
One generation removed from the camera file, but far better than the old upload. It preserved the full frame, the embedded time display, and several seconds that had been trimmed from the public clip.
Was the timestamp trustworthy after 13 years?
Investigators did not simply accept it. They compared the passing freight train against national rail movement records, matched the locomotive and wagon order, and checked the factory shift whistle visible as workers moved near another gate.
So the train becomes the clock.
One of several clocks. The camera time ran 38 seconds slow. Once corrected, the relevant figure appeared at gate 3 just before the system recorded Yaramir's exit.
Can we actually identify a person at that distance?
The first frames show only a figure in a dark security jacket. Enhancement cannot create facial detail that the camera never captured, and responsible analysts said so. But the person then stepped beneath the gate floodlight and turned sideways.
Better angle.
Clear enough to compare body build, profile, jacket markings, and movement. The raw frame also captured a security vehicle parked outside the booth,
Shima's vehicle?
assigned to his department. A repair patch on the rear quarter panel matched photographs taken that month.
That gets him near the gate. What does he do?
He removes a small rectangular device and a white credential from his jacket.
Slow down.
The sequence lasts 9 seconds. The figure approaches the reader. In his left hand is a device consistent in size and shape with portable credential programmers sold to commercial security departments in 2012. In his right is a plain white card.
Could it just be a radio?
That was considered. A radio would not require him to hold the white card against its face before presenting the card to the gate reader. The motion matches writing or verifying a credential.
At the gate itself.
Yes, he appears to check the encoded card, then places it near the reader. The barrier light changes immediately afterward.
Do we hear the access voice?
The rail camera was too far away, but the corrected video time aligns with the 10:26 event to within seconds.
And Jeromer's real card is still fused into his pocket.
Inside Boiler Hall B,
Who first recognized Shima?
2 former guards independently identified his posture, profile, and the winter jacket he wore as chief. More importantly, when confronted with the original footage, Shima stopped denying that he was at Gate 3.
What did he say?
He claimed he was testing reader sensitivity after the maintenance window.
Using Jeromer's copied identifier 12 minutes after Jeromer was burned.
He denied knowing which identifier was on the card.
But his administrator account created it.
2 days earlier,
This is the first evidence that physically places the security chief inside the false timeline.
exactly. Not behind a desk, not merely approving an export, standing at the reader that recorded the impossible exit.
Does the footage show him coming from Boiler Hall B?
No. The embankment angle covered the southern gate and part of the service road. Boiler Hall B was blocked by production buildings.
So it proves staging, not yet the attack.
Correct. But it changes the conspiracy question. Before this, Shima could argue that someone used an unknown duplicate and that his account was misused. After the footage, he is the person operating the credential at the critical moment.
And Merrick?
Nowhere in the recording, no vehicle connected to him entered the southern road, and the figure at Gate 3 did not meet anyone.
I have to update.
Go ahead.
You were right about the structure. The close-range attack and Jeromer's argument with Merrick pulled me toward personal betrayal. But this isn't security cleaning up somebody else's impulsive killing. Shima prepared the duplicate before the murder, opened the camera window, and used the copied identifier immediately after the arc. The personal conflicts were camouflage. The plan came through Carson.
That is where the evidence lands.
Not necessarily all the way to Hansal ordering murder, but out of the pub, out of Ivana's custody fight, and directly into management's security apparatus.
And the recovered footage did one more thing. It gave investigators a lawful basis to go back through property that had been sitting untouched since a completely separate complaint involving Shima.
What property?
A torn gray work glove from Pavel Shima's locker. And beneath the thumb seam, the laboratory found something the first investigation had never thought to look for. Yaromir's blood.
Under the torn seam.
Beneath it and inside the folded stitching, where wiping the glove's outer surface would not reach. The genetic profile matched Jaromir, and the distribution was consistent with fine blood droplets entering the seam while the wearer gripped a metal object during an impact.
The blow to his skull.
Consistent with it. The laboratory could not identify a specific weapon from the droplets, and I want to be precise about that. But Jaromir's blood was inside Seema's work glove. Shima denied entering Boiler Hall B, and his own selected video was the foundation of that denial.
Why did police have the glove at all?
3 weeks after Jaromir's death, Shima reported money and access card blanks stolen from his locker. He accused a junior guard. Police collected the locker's loose contents to document ownership and look for fingerprints. That included 2 winter gloves, one with a torn thumb seam.
Was the guard charged?
No. The complaint collapsed when Shima's account of the missing cash changed. The property should have been returned, but an unresolved ownership form kept the bag in storage.
Bureaucratic accident preserves murder evidence.
Sometimes the same bureaucracy that fails a case also leaves one item untouched long enough to save it. The evidence seal remained intact. Every transfer was logged. Investigators obtained a new warrant before opening the bag and sent the glove to an independent laboratory.
Had Seema cleaned it?
The outer material showed detergent residue. Most visible biological material was gone. He missed what had been driven beneath the torn stitching.
Tiny protected space.
Exactly. Seams, cuffs, boot welts, watch bands, places where blood can survive an incomplete cleanup.
What did Shima say when they confronted him with the match?
First, that he had helped Jaromir after an earlier workplace cut. There was no medical report, no witness, and Jaromir's maintenance colleagues said Seema did not perform first aid. Then he suggested the glove had been contaminated in police storage.
Sealed bag, documented transfers.
And no other item in that property lot contained Jaromir's blood. Finally, Shima said he may have touched the body on the morning it was found.
But he had denied entering the hall.
He had also signed the security log, stating that he remained at the central office until emergency crews arrived. Paramedics, the cleaner, and the first plant electrician did not place him beside Jaromir.
3 explanations means none of them survived contact.
That is how I would use it in an interview. You do not argue over which excuse sounds best. You put all 3 on the table and ask why the truth required revisions.
Did the glove connect to the grease pencil smear?
The palm pattern was broadly compatible, but not individualizing. Many Carson gloves used the same raised grip design. The prosecution treated that as supporting context, not identification.
Good. The blood is strong. Don't inflate the pattern.
Examiners tested several tools that could have produced the fracture. A short engineer's hammer or similarly weighted metal instrument fit the injury dimensions. No murder weapon was recovered.
Wouldn't the tool have blood on it?
Before cleaning, probably. Carson had wash stations, solvent, scrap bins, and outgoing industrial waste. Shima controlled vehicle checks and access to the security garage. He had multiple ways to remove a small tool.
And the missing folder?
The same opportunity. Investigators believe he took Jaromir's copied logs after the attack and carried them out in the security vehicle seen near Gate 3. That is an inference, because the folder was never recovered.
Why leave the phone?
Because a maintenance technician without his work phone beside an open cabinet would look wrong. Shima needed the scene to contain ordinary work equipment. Heat damage also gave him reason to believe the photographs would be unreadable.
But the memory thumbnails survived.
Enough of them did. The copper bridge, the cabinet number, the clean green warning before somebody smeared it.
He removed the complete records and gambled against the damaged phone.
A controlled offender does not necessarily remove everything. He removes what he considers most dangerous and leaves what supports the story.
Marcus, stop. The siren.
What about it?
The cleaner's call. She said the evacuation siren was running. Carson's report said it never activated during the electrical event.
Correct.
The automatic line 4 alarm had been bypassed. Yaromir's warning said not to reset it. But the evacuation circuit was separate, and security's panel key was signed out under Shima's authority.
Yes.
That sound wasn't incidental. Shima manually activated the evacuation siren after attacking Jaromir. He wanted the hall to sound like an uncontrolled electrical emergency. Then the official report erased the one detail that required a person at the panel.
That is the connection.
And the uneven cycle?
A later test reproduced it when the panel was placed in manual evacuation mode, while one damaged speaker branch remained isolated. The switch latched. It continued cycling locally until an electrician reset it the next morning.
So there's a mechanical explanation for every piece. Separate alarm circuits, a manual key, and a local speaker fault.
Nothing about that siren was spontaneous. Someone selected the circuit and turned the key.
Shima staged what the cleaner would hear before she even opened the door.
Investigators reconstructed the sequence this way. Shima used the maintenance window to disable live camera review. An electronic work order directed Jaromir to Boiler Hall B, where the camera coverage had already been curated.
Jaromir arrives with the copied logs.
Shima approaches from behind and strikes him once with a compact metal tool. Jaromir is incapacitated before he can defend himself. Shima takes the folder, opens the cabinet, and positions Jeremiah close to an exposed, energized point.
Then he creates the arc.
Using an insulated switching tool and the upstream disconnect, according to the electrical reconstruction, that allowed him to energize the contact while keeping his own body outside the most dangerous current path. The arc burns Jeremiah, damages the phone and tester, and softens the access card inside his pocket.
He resets the equipment Euromer marked, smearing the warning with his glove.
Then he uses the security key to activate the local evacuation circuit. He exits through a controlled service route, drives to gate 3, verifies the duplicated credential, and presents it to the reader at 10:26.
The dead man clocks out.
Shima returns the alarm key, exports only the camera segments that support his office alibi, and later explains the access event as delayed synchronization.
Remember that explanation from earlier? That wasn't a technical witness helping police understand a confusing system. That was the man at Gate 3 telling detectives how not to investigate him.
Exactly. And remember the empty corridor video? It was never neutral footage. It was Shima's edited statement in visual form.
How did nobody respond to the siren for 8 hours?
Boiler Hall B was lightly staffed overnight, and its local speakers were separated from the main production floor by fire doors, concrete walls, and constant machinery noise. The maintenance window also removed the alarm panel from live security review. Workers elsewhere heard intermittent warning tones but assumed they were part of the scheduled system work.
Because Shima had created a legitimate maintenance window.
A legitimate-looking one. That is why the plan worked. Every suspicious action carried an administrative label: system maintenance, reader test, alarm check, video export, overnight consulting,
Murder hidden in routine vocabulary.
and performed by the man responsible for defining routine.
Was the electronic work order traced to him?
The full text was gone, but the outside backup retained a transaction token showing it originated from a terminal in the Security Administration wing. Shima's account was active there. The defense argued another person could have used the terminal.
Alone. That's not enough.
No. Combined with the cloned credential, camera window, gate footage, alarm key, and blood in his glove, it becomes one more locked point in the sequence.
That's the difference between a clue and a case.
Investigators could now prove what Shima did. Proving why he did it led back to Hanzal, and to a payment issued 2 days after Jeromer's death.
The security consulting invoice.
A company controlled by Shima's brother billed Carson for overnight consulting, supposedly performed during the week of the killing. The brother had no security license, no employees, and no record of entering the plant.
How close was the amount to Shima's gambling debt?
Within a few hundred crowns. Bank records showed the money moving from Carson to the brothers' company, then into accounts used to settle Shima's documented betting obligations.
And Hansel approved it personally.
He bypassed the normal purchasing review and authorized same-week payment. His defense said Shima had performed confidential risk work connected to labor unrest.
Was there any work product?
Nothing. No assessment, no timesheet, no report, no contract predating Jeromir's death.
Debt relief in a corporate envelope.
That was the prosecution's position. Hansal gave Shima a material reason to accept the assignment and disguised the payment as a business expense.
Why Shima? Beyond access.
Hansal needed somebody who understood the plant's blind spots, could manipulate credentials, and had a private vulnerability. Shima's gambling debt made him expensive to himself and cheap to Hansal.
That is brutal.
Shima was not selected because he was emotionally invested in Line 4. He was selected because his job gave him control and his debt gave Hansal leverage.
Behaviorally, Shima is intensely compartmentalized. He can strike Jaromir, then spend the next hour creating records because he has reduced the act to a security task. Disable observation, remove material, generate exit, export proof.
Instrumental violence.
No spectacle. No rage pattern. Jaromir is a person only until the blow. After that, Shima treats him as a problem in the access system.
And Hansal treated him as a threat to the sale. Shutdown meant claims from Milan and potentially other workers, a regulatory inspection, evidence of deliberate safety fraud, and a buyer asking what else Carson had concealed.
Plus, Hansel's bonus and promised executive position disappear.
Money, status, and avoidance of criminal exposure. Those were the motives. Not some incomprehensible impulse. A calculated decision that Jaromir's report cost more than his life. When investigators laid out the gate footage and glove evidence, Shima did not confess. He attacked the interpretation. This is part of the recorded interview.
I tested equipment because that was my job. A white card at a gate proves a card was tested. That glove sat in your storage for years. and now you decide it belongs to a murder.
He separates every item.
Deliberately. One card, one glove, one maintenance window, one invoice. If he could keep each fact in its own room, he could avoid the hallway connecting them.
Did investigators tell him the blood was under the seam?
Not at first. They asked whether he had ever washed the glove. He said he could not remember. Then they showed him the detergent finding and the interior sample location.
Response?
He asked for counsel.
Sensible legal decision, not an admission.
Correct. Invoking counsel is not evidence of guilt. The evidence was what came before it, his changing contamination explanations and the physical match.
Did Hansel and Shima communicate directly during the maintenance window?
No surviving message contained an explicit order. Hansel's telephone was off the network for part of the drive from Teplis, and Shima used plant systems rather than personal messaging. Prosecutors built Hansel's case circumstantially.
Approval window? Alibi gap? Motive? Payment?
Plus the transfer attempt, the confidentiality warning, Lenka's testimony about pressure to falsify inspections, and Hansel's personal authorization of a sham invoice immediately after the killing.
Was there evidence Hansel entered Boiler Hall B?
No, the prosecution did not claim he struck Jaromir. Their case was that he directed Shima to prevent the report from reaching inspectors and financed the killing through debt relief.
That matters. Ordering the act does not require being in the room.
Nor does a circumstantial case mean a weak case. Every case relies on inference. The question is whether independent facts converge on one reasonable conclusion and exclude innocent alternatives.
Hansel's innocent alternative would have to explain why he approved the exact surveillance gap, then paid the man filmed cloning Eramir's exit.
2 days after Jaromir died.
That's a steep hill.
At trial, the regional court heard the case without a jury. The judges viewed the original rail footage frame by frame, heard independent access control experts explain the duplicate identifier, and examined the complete chain of custody for the glove.
How did the defense handle Marek?
They tried to revive him as an alternate conspirator. Marek admitted taking management money during the strike dispute and admitted lying about it. But there was no evidence he knew about the security window, credential copy, or payment to Shima's brother.
His corruption remained real?
Yes. Clearing him of murder did not make him honest. It meant the physical and digital evidence did not place him in the plan.
And Ivana?
The defense raised the insurance policy, but her toll sequence, fuel purchase, nursing handover, and communications excluded her. The court found no evidence she contacted either defendant.
Lenka testified.
She did. She described Hansel's pressure to certify Line 4 and his warning that a shutdown would destroy the sale. Her separate false document case remained distinct from the murder prosecution.
She helped build the conditions, then helped explain them.
The court treated her cautiously because she had reason to minimize her own responsibility. Her testimony was used where records corroborated it. Pavel Shima was convicted of murdering Jaromir Kovarch and falsifying security records. Radek Hansel was convicted of directing the killing fraud connected to the payment and the safety record conspiracy. Both received lengthy prison sentences, and the central findings survived appeal.
Did the court say which fact carried the most weight?
It rejected the idea that any single item proved the whole case. The written judgment emphasized convergence. Advanced creation of the duplicate, the synchronized camera window, Shima at Gate 3, Jaromir's blood inside the glove, and Hansel's disguised payment.
The machine record mattered because the physical badge contradicted it.
Yes. If the fuse card had been discarded as damaged equipment, the false exit might never have become the organizing fact.
And if Tomasz Baron had thrown away that old drive?
Prosecutors would still have had suspicious records, but not the image of Shima physically performing the deception.
The rail enthusiast filmed a freight train and accidentally preserved a murderer's alibi being built.
An independent camera outside the company's control. That was the evidence Carson could not select, re-encode, or explain away. The charging announcement finally stated publicly what Jaromir's family had argued for years.
Prosecutors say Jaromir Kovarch was killed after documenting a disabled factory safety system. Former security chief Pavel Shima and former plant director Radek Hansel have now been convicted in the staged electrocution and access record cover-up.
13 years to correct one sentence.
The original sentence was that Jaromir caused his own death. The corrected sentence was that he discovered a danger, documented it, and was killed because management feared what those records would expose.
What happened to the company's sale?
It collapsed after the reopened investigation disclosed the safety records and hidden liability. Carson later entered restructuring, and Line 4 was permanently shut down.
The shutdown Jaromir asked for.
After Milan was burned, Jaromir was murdered, and years of litigation forced the issue.
That delay is its own indictment. I keep returning to how ordinary Jaromir's first demand was: test the alarm properly, stop the line until it is safe, preserve the records.
He did not begin with a public accusation. He used internal procedure.
And every level above him converted procedure into a weapon. Lenka's signature made the bypass look inspected. Hansal's approval made the surveillance gap look scheduled. Shima's credential made a dead man look mobile.
Systems do not protect people merely because forms exist. Protection depends on who controls the forms, who audits the controller, and whether outside investigators seize original evidence.
That's the piece I'm taking from your side of our disagreement. I read the violence first because it was intimate, a blow delivered from arm's reach. But intimacy of method did not mean intimacy of motive.
Right. Shima had to stand close to Jaromir to strike him. Hansal did not need to feel close to him at all.
That may be worse. Jaromir became a liability figure in somebody else's sale calculation.
And Shima accepted debt relief to make that liability disappear.
Did Jaromir's daughter receive the education money he had been saving?
The family eventually received compensation, though years late, and after legal costs. She completed technical school. In her final public statement, she did not discuss the money or the sentences. She talked about the warning on the cabinet.
I'd like to hear that.
This was recorded after the convictions.
My father wrote, "Do not reset," because he believed the next person would stop and read it. They tried to make that warning look like his mistake. Now it belongs to the truth about him.
She gave the words back.
She did. The green grease pencil began as a practical mark on dirty steel. It became proof that Jaromir understood the danger before the people blaming him said he created it.
And proof that he was still thinking about whoever came next.
There is a procedural lesson here. When a company controls the scene, the records, the cameras, and the experts explaining those records, investigators have to create independence immediately.
Seize the original server.
Preserve the hardware, interview technical staff separately, compare machine events with physical evidence. Search for external copies, vendors, contractors, public cameras, anything beyond the organization's reach.
And don't let experienced but stubborn become forensic evidence.
Character descriptions do not explain skull fractures, missing folders, or cloned credentials.
Jaromir was blamed because the company's story sounded orderly.
The truth was orderly too. It was simply organized around evidence instead of authority.
Jaromir's warning survived the men who tried to erase it.
The badge finally closed the case. Christie has the last word.
Next week, we sit with someone the world stopped searching for long before the evidence stopped speaking. Like this episode and subscribe so you're here when we give that life its proper weight.